Peter creates works on paper, videos, and installations that are fueled by his love of drawing and mark making. In addition to his own practice, he's the co-founder of the mobile arts platform, or MAP, a socially engaged art making and curatorial team that creates interactive exhibitions that directly engage the public. Foucault has participated in exhibitions at venues such as the Getty Museum, Oakland Museum of California, Torrance Art Museum, the California Museum, San Luis Obispo Museum, Yerba Buena Center for the Arts, the Smithsonian Institute's Freer and Sackler Gallery, and the Orange County Center for Contemporary Art, among many others. He's quite an accomplished artist, and it's my pleasure to be speaking with him this morning. Welcome, Peter. I don't know if you're going to turn on your video. Oh, there you are.
Hi, nice to meet you, Shelly. How are you doing?
Nice to meet you too. Glad to be with you this morning. So I just want to start the conversation out by just having you give us an overview of what you do. Especially, I'm really interested this morning in talking to you about your social practice work. But give us an overview so we get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, in my art making practice, I actually wear quite a few different hats. I'm also an independent curator as well. With my socially engaged work, it's part of a project called the Mobile Arts Platform, amongst other projects that are socially engaged. We've been doing this for about 10 years up and down the West Coast. And yeah, really interested in looking at current social issues and just ways that we can interact with the public to help people share their voice in their communities. In addition, it's been a bit of a challenge doing that work during the pandemic because trying to find that gray area between making socially engaged work in a socially distanced world right now. So primarily I've been focusing on my other body of work over the last 6 months or so, which is a series of really large scale, small scale abstract drawings and video pieces.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So when you say social practice, what do you mean by that? What's your definition of that term in relationship to your work?
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's definitely working with communities to kind of identify different means and topics in that community that need to be addressed, I suppose. It's providing a platform for people to share their voice in a number of different ways, from sharing through messaged posters to audio to video, just really diving in and really getting a sense of what the community needs are, and as an artist, how we can kind of help serve those communities in our role as a facilitator.
And then do the community members actually make the work? Are they sort of the same as a paint or brushes, or are they making the work with you?
Yeah, definitely.
One of your more recent.
Yeah, I get a really good example. My co-collaborator, Chris Trajari, is a CCA instructor in Oakland, California, and we worked on a project called Eyes on Oakland. It was in collaboration with the Oakland Museum, where we actually created a mobile news van. We retrofitted a 1963 Ford Falcon van and created a mobile interview space. We partnered with the Center for Investigative Reporting in Oakland as well to embed their reporters into the project as well. And we asked the community their views on local surveillance practices in Oakland. We actually had a mobile screen printing unit attached to the front of the van where we would hand screen print posters that say basically, Eyes on Oakland, and have a space where people can fill in their thoughts on local surveillance practices. That was actually, we popped up at about 15 places throughout Oakland, gathered information, and then in the Oakland Museum, we created a data collection and sharing station as part of one of their exhibitions, where we actually had video monitors that had images of people's responses. And, it's a way to kind of share back that information into the community from the information that we've gathered.
What were some of the, what was some of the feedback that you got from the community?
Yeah, I mean, with Oakland, it kind of varies from neighborhood to neighborhood. A lot of the kind of more underserved neighborhoods, obviously surveillance is, people are afraid of being, watched and surveilled and monitored. And if you go to areas like Piedmont, that's a little bit more affluent, people think surveillance is a really good thing. It's actually keeping the community safe, keeping eyes on, just keeping the status quo. So it really varied by neighborhood, and we were kind of able to get more of a kind of a litmus test of, how different Oakland communities feel about police surveillance operations in their neighborhoods.
And was there a range? Like were people more comfortable with it in one neighborhood and less comfortable with it in another? And what was it like I always think it must be really hard as an artist working in the public realm to start those conversations with the community to get the information you need to make that work. So what was that like, and what is it like for you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's an investment on the artist's part, I feel, to really embed yourself in the community. It's not just a one-touch operation. I mean, we really did due diligence to work with CIR and the Oakland Museum to really try to get into every community we could with this. It was kind of a two-step process where we would do live screen printing with the Eyes on Oakland, little posters, and there was also a survey that was on one side of the poster that was perforated where they could keep their poster in response. Mm-hmm. And then we would keep the survey. So it's more qualitative data. I had a series of questions, just kind of asking their comfort level with surveillance in their local communities. So we had that component, and also the van itself has 2 bay doors that would open up, and there was a little interview station where we would actually have either Chris, myself, or one of the CIR reporters in the van on the street level and asking people the same questions on the survey, so we could actually record their responses. Mm-hmm. We also worked with the Great Wall of Oakland, which was a beautiful project where they would do monthly video screenings on a really large building. So it was like a 100-foot projection. So we actually worked with them a few times to actually project people's responses back on a major building surface as part of their first Friday art opening. So it was kind of a way of collecting, sharing back, getting people's responses, and really seeing how that feedback loop works in terms of collecting people's opinions and just really sharing them back in the most respectful and honest way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Give me a sense of, from beginning to end, how much time, energy, resources this project entailed?
For the Eyes on Oakland project, it was, I think we actually were out in the field for about 6 months collecting information. And then it was about a 2 to 3 month process in terms of video editing, building an installation that would go into the Oakland Museum, and then actually installing it. So I believe the show ran for 2 months. Mm-hmm. And while the show was happening, we were still back out in the field collecting information,
wow,
loading all of the video screens with updated opinions. So it was quite a process. I mean, it was a great, the museum was wonderful to work with because they were good in facilitating the data updating and everything. We would just give them the new images they'd included in the exhibition. So it was a pretty involved process. It was probably about a year.
And you didn't even mention the planning.
Yeah.
Everything before that.
Yeah, I mean, just like from the meetings and meetups and, tie-ins with local media. It was a pretty long project. I mean, I would say about a year and a half from start to finish, but, it was fabulous. CIR, we had a lot of local reportage from, a lot of local media picked up the project. So people kind of knew where we were going to be, and, they were able to kind of follow that and share those community opinions out through local media channels as well.
And just one other question about this project. How many, what's your team like? Your kind of core team that helps you make this work?
Well, for that particular project, it was an artist, Chris Jajari, who I've been working with for years. We also worked with another CCA professor, Aaron McGoyan, and Cole Goins from CIR. So actually Cole did a lot of the media strategy on their part and brought in local reporters. So we probably had a core team of about 4 to 5 people on our end facilitating it.
Yeah, so, and I can sense, from looking at your work, you really understand how to collaborate And I mean, I think you have to, right? You have to really, to do the kind of work you do, you have to know how to work with people and share ideas. And so tell me, when you're working through a project like this or others similarly, how do you know where your idea begins and the other person's starts, or yours ends and the other person's begins? Or how and do you see, or do you see yourself at the very beginning of each project being, having this clear, concise vision that really just sort of carries things through?
It's definitely a dance with a lot of back and forth. I think a good example, the Oakland Museum invited Chris and I to do an actual memorial piece for the ghost ship fire victims
Oh
as
yeah.
part of their Day of the Dead show in 2017. The fire actually occurred in 2016, and about 3 days after that happened, the museum invited Chris and I to build a small scale memorial that would actually just be a kind of a safe space that people could mourn. And 36 people perished in the fire, so it was kind of like a very sensitive, very careful topic to navigate. So we wanted to create just a very safe sharing space where people could grieve, could share stories, could bring kind of a fabric of community back after that. So I think that was probably the most challenging project that I've worked on in terms of collaboration. We made a small scale memorial at the museum shortly afterwards, but then we were invited a year later to create a very large scale installation as part of their Metamorphosis and Migration Day of the Dead exhibition in 2017. So we actually built a large replica of a ship's facade. I brought my wife in to hand stitch. She actually hand stitched a spirit sail, which is sort of the front mast on a sailing ship. So she actually hand embroidered all of the names of the fire victims onto the spirit sail. It was about a 18-foot tall series of sails and a small altar that was underneath. So, with that piece, we had to we had to collaborate with the museum. We obviously wanted to be mindful about collaborating with victims' families. Chris and I really, we took that whole year pretty much to figure out like the best strategy that would create a space that was safe and respectful and mindful of this tragedy that happened, but also give the community a way to share their voice in it. So we actually had small response cards that people would fill out at the museum just with their thoughts and sentiments and, just their opinions of this tragedy that happened. And those would be added to the installation over the course of the show. So the cards actually got kind of stitched into the sail over the course of the exhibition. So I think we had something like, I want to say like 800 participants in that. It just created this really, really amazing and really powerful portrait of community healing in space. So I think that was probably one of the largest challenges that I've had to deal with in terms of collaboration, because it's just like, you have this, you want to do it right. You want to be respectful. You want to be able to really honor, these people. And as an artist, with just Chris and I, that's a huge responsibility. And it was stressful, really stressful at times, just to be able to do it right and to, show our respect and our, our grievances, but also our, our celebration that the community can come together to heal in a space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Talk about responsibility, but also what an incredible gift, to allow that insight and, ability for those people in the community to, remember and heal, through this experience. God, I'm sorry I missed it. It sounds like an incredibly beautiful piece. So I wanted to just switch gears a little bit and make sure that we talked about your drawing. And, are we getting towards the end? Justina?
Sorry to interrupt, but we have to start wrapping up Peter's time. But if,
Okay.
maybe you could, quick. We did start a couple minutes late, so if you want to maybe talk about your drawing and then just let us know where we can find out more about you. And
Oh yeah, definitely.
Shelly.
See, I could talk to you for another couple hours.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so on the drawing scheme of things, yeah, when the lockdown started, I started kind of a personal challenge. It was stay in studio, create 2 drawings a day. So actually I did that for about 60 days. So I had 120 new abstract, collage, and blown ink drawings throughout the pandemic. Yeah, I could definitely go into a whole different tangent with drawing. I work with a lot of different collaboration type projects to create these drawing from performance artists, sound artists, collaborated with musicians to create drawings. So it's kind of a broad range of practice, but the result is a series of large scale abstract drawings. Yeah, and you can find more about my work at just my personal website. It's peterfoucault.wordpress.com. And yeah, people, if they're interested, can take a look. There's that's a whole nother side of my practice that is pretty much my full-time practice right now, because
right, given COVID, can't get out.
Can't make community art right now. So.
Yeah, exactly. And where see your work? Do you have any shows at right now?
Not currently. I have a show that's up at a wealth management group in Roseville as part of a Blue Line Arts art in office spaces project. But no, a lot of my shows have been kind of canceled or put off. Just making a lot of work for myself right now. And you can actually see on today's Hack Open Studios, I'll be sharing a new body of work and a couple new projects through that as well.
Great. Well, it's been such a pleasure speaking with you. And I hope when we get out of this COVID thing, I can go to coffee with you and talk more. So,
yeah, no, definitely. Like, things will come back to somewhat normal at somewhat soon. We'll see, but yeah, we got to fight the good fight in the meantime. So.
All right.
Great talking.
Nice to talk with you.